Well, this is Dominic Gladu. A lot of people asking how I know Dominic. I've said a number of times, I've known Dominic for a very, very long time. So a lot of history between Dom and I. When I moved to Montreal, Dominic used to come in with his father all the time and jog horses for us on Saturday. And helped me out a lot. And Dominic, obviously, with this. What's your birthday?
5th February.
5th of February?
Yeah, and you 3rd of December?
Yeah, how old are you now? 46?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're old. It's embarrassing. Yeah. So Dominic's actually 10 months older than me. 10 months older than me. It's an embarrassment, really. So we ended up hanging out quite a bit in Montreal. Now, for those of you who maybe don't know the back history of Anthony McDonald, I lived in Montreal for 3 years. Actually, I dated a girl in Montreal that you set me up with.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I moved to Ontario, obviously, it was long-distance relationships are tough. So there's certainly no complaints in the way that my life has turned out, that's for sure. But Dominic and I ended up being very good friends, and he went his way and did his own thing with his horses in Quebec. And obviously, I ended up here. Ended up in politics for a little bit. I did. You didn't. I'm not aware of. Don't believe. No politics for you.
No.
And then, we always saw each other and stuff. I noticed you changed your colors, eh? I noticed you a bit of a Judas. You just changed them.
Yeah, I just
forever he had the same colors as me. I believe I'd given you colors.
Yeah.
And that's how that's where your colors were.
When we were 21.
Yeah. I'd given Dominic colors, so when he went out on his own, his colors were my colors, literally. So, I had the opportunity. We had Johnny working here last year, and Johnny's a great guy, been a very good friend of mine and my family's for a long time, his family. But Johnny just, he's got a family of his own, and this is a stressful business, and you know that. It's a tough business. Yeah. It's a great business. It's a business that we all love, but it's very, very tough, right? The stress of especially when you factor in a family. Right, when I was a trainer, there was always the stress of wanting to do better and do good, and at some point have a family, have a house, raise a family. These are things I think everybody goes through, maybe in every jurisdiction, in every walk of life. But it's very difficult in this business, and the one thing, it's not for the faint of heart, right? It's not. It just isn't. It can be really tough sometimes. The downs are down, and the ups are really, really way up, and that's what keeps you here. Is that if a couple of days, a week, or a month, you can have a real good run. It keeps you glued to this industry. So, but at some point, it always has to be about family. And I happened to run into Dominic, I don't know, a month or 6 weeks ago, and he. Same thing. You're away from your family, and that's even more stressful. That's, that was tough. I know when I'm in Ohio, that's why I like to bring in my family with me to Ohio so that we can all experience horse racing together and hang out together. For you being here and then being in Quebec, that must have been horrible. And done it for a few years now. But you got to do what you got to do in life to get by, right? And I applaud you for doing that. And when we had the availability, when we needed somebody else to come on board, we were short a couple of caretakers, but quite frankly, we needed somebody that could really fill that gap, right? Somebody that could help out with the babies and play a really proactive, professional role at the same time as running a barn area. That's not an easy thing to do, to run a shed row or a stable of horses. In Ontario and race them here, and the way that we race horses, and that'll be the culture shock for you, and I told you that when you come on board. Dominic always has his own horses, right? You've always had, how long have you been training now? Since you were 25?
Full time? Yeah, I've been, since I finished university, 24.
How long has it been since you shaved?
Almost the same time.
Same time, man.
Yeah.
I see that.
He never liked that. He never liked that.
I'll tell you what. The other day, so I get up at 5 a.m.
Okay.
5 a.m. and I shaved. I get up, had a shower, and I shaved. Drove to the airport, stayed in the airport the whole day. Flew to New York, stayed in New York the whole day. Flew back. I get home at 3:30 in the morning. I had to be here to start going with the babies at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
My alarm went off at 7:30.
First thing you did, shave again.
Another shower, another shave.
Shaving.
It's just the way it is.
Just the way.
So yeah, how long have you been training?
Full time, yeah.
Yeah.
22, 23 years maybe full time on my own since I'm 30. So it's 16 years.
So a lot of people don't understand. Everybody gets in the business for different reasons. Obviously, people don't realize your past. When you and I met,
Yeah.
you were in biochemistry, I believe, were you
Yeah.
not? Yeah. And so you decided to train horses instead of being a biochemist.
Almost, but it just happened like that because we were finishing. I was finishing my degree. My degree was done, and I had a gap of 6 months before I was accept
Yeah.
in to be actuary or
Is that a doctorate?
no, it's completely another.
Actuary. What's that?
Actuary, it's the guy that calculate the possibility of things that will happen, even in financial or in insurance
really?
company.
Oh, I
yeah.
didn't know that. Okay, yeah.
And I was accepted at University Laval in Quebec.
Mhm.
So I had 6 month gap before that, and at the same moment they shut down Montreal. They put on Blue Bonnets.
Oh, that's right too. Yeah, I
Shut
remember.
down
I
Blue
left just
Bonnets.
before that, like
Yeah.
5 months before that.
And when they shut down the stable area too. So one of the trainer that we worked for, Jean Beaulieu,
Yeah.
he had to split his horse from different place, and I was living in South Shore.
Yeah.
And so he ending up rent a stable at Saint-Basile-le-Grand, where was
Yeah.
Gratien
Yeah.
Deschênes before.
Yeah.
So I started there with 12 in February because I done my university by December.
Mhm.
So I in February I moved there with 12 horses, and in September I was running 30 stable horses.
For Jean or yourself?
Yeah, no, for Jean that time. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So, and that's why I keep going, because at the same moment later on, the investment from the government of Quebec was like 100 millions that they put in the business.
Yeah.
In 2001, 2000, something like that, when they do the 7-8 track at Montreal. So, I like it, and I just never went to University Laval after my degree in chemistry. So I never went in there, and I keep doing the horses.
You know, my wife has a degree in science, University of Guelph. So there you go. Two people that paid a lot of money to be educated,
to be invested,
never
right.
used.
Yeah,
Announce.
my mom and dad invest a lot of money in that, and they were
Not
really
an
happy when I
ounce.
decided to pick up stalls.
Yeah,
Box stalls. Yeah,
not a cent of the degree was ever put to use.
No.
So
I never work. I never
yeah.
work in that business.
Neither did Amy.
Never,
Not
ever,
once.
Ever,
Not
never,
once.
Never. I did how you call that? I did the I did for the vet university in Quebec. I did my stage over there for 3
Yeah.
months. I studied the blood sample over there.
Yeah.
For 3 months, but that was it. That's the end of my schooling.
Did you ever get paid for doing that?
No.
So you've
No,
never
just-
actually earned $1
No, never
attributed.
never
attributed
actually
to
earned
you.
$1. Never.
That's great. So you get into the horses.
Yeah.
So people have to realize the time that he's talking about. Montreal on a Sunday afternoon would wager as much as Mohawk on a Saturday night at some point in time. When I moved there, Montreal was Blue Bonnets was a 5/8 mile track. They made it a 7/8 mile track. I was there through that whole transition. It was fantastic, but I think corruption played the biggest role of anything, right? On either or both sides.
Yeah, I would say more than they didn't have the vision of the horse racing over there, and the people that they put in place. I think that they
had the grit. It almost seemed like their biggest accomplishments they found were bringing in the horses from Europe. They wanted to be the Paris of Canada.
Yeah.
And it seemed like, looking back on it now, it seemed like they didn't have their own self-awareness. They didn't want to be Montreal. They wanted to be
they want to be
the
something
France
else,
of Canada.
Yeah.
And it ended up falling apart, and it was so horrible to watch that happen. You know, we almost experienced that in 2012 with the slots collapse here. That's why I ended up in politics for a short time. But they did lose everything in Quebec for quite a while, and Daniel Dubé ended up in Yonkers, and Stéphane Bouchard left.
Yeah.
A number of big trainers left, and the other ones were left wondering what now.
You know, when you start driving when you start driving, it was a hell of a hot list in Montreal to
Oh.
have a drive. Just to parade a horse was an accomplishment.
It was a big deal. What is this little girl doing? I'm doing videos. You go in and brush White Tiger and give him some Kowitz. That's a brow band. Can you say brow band?
Brow band.
That's right, brow band. Hey, no, don't go over there. Go over in Mummy's shed row right now. You got to give carrots to Tiger. And Dominic's right. The prestige of being in Montreal, like when Mark and I started driving, Mark's first wins didn't come in Montreal. They came in Rideau Carleton.
Yeah.
That's right. And
a horse named Music. If my memory is
that's
good,
right.
is Music something.
His name was Music.
Make it music.
Make it music. That was the name of him. Just good memory. Mark, my brother, won his first 3 lifetime starts. There were 3 weeks back to back to back at Rideau Carleton Raceway with Make It Music, and the trainer at the time,
Jamie Smith.
false.
Of Make It Music?
That's correct. Donnie McDougall was the trainer. Donnie McDougall from PEI was up here for a very short time and trained Make It Music, and Mark drove him. My first lifetime win was at Blue Bonnets. Was at Blue Bonnets about 45 starts into my career.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, you got to remember at the time, we were 2 English kids racing in Quebec. And
I know it was hard to crack that for anybody.
There's no cracking. There's no drives for anybody. The only drives we had were horses that were dangerous or terribly slow. And not shockingly, my first lifetime win was on a horse I trained. Do you remember him?
Okay.
Oh,
I would say Carrie's Pride, but
that's
I'm not.
right. It is.
It is Carrie's Pride.
Carrie's Pride.
Okay.
Yeah. I was parked the whole way. I moved him at the quarter pole. He was out the whole way and won. Archangelo Cancy and I owned him.
Yeah.
Classy old horse. Just a really classy old horse. Little girl. Hey. No, you can't come in. You want to come in?
Oh, come in.
Come on. In here with Dad. Right here.
You want to go in the back seat?
No, she wants to sit here with Daddy.
Come on down.
Yeah, there you go. Sit down. Say hello.
Hello.
You gotta say hello to everybody. We're doing a video.
Hello.
So yeah, my first win was pretty cool in the sense that I'm doing a video. You have to be quiet. In the sense, yes, if you can't be quiet, I'm gonna kick you out of my car.
No.
Yeah, that's gonna happen. So my first win was pretty cool in the sense that it was my horse, right? And it was a horse that we had just claimed, and you always remember your first win, and that one meant a lot to me. Hey, shh, no more giggling. I'm trying to do a video. So yeah, but back when Blue Bonnets in Montreal, Hippodrome to Montreal collapsed, it was very, very bad for everybody at the time. You remember not? My brother Lloyd and Curtis.
Yeah,
We're running the video department.
Video department.
Yeah. And my brother Lloyd left, and Curtis ended up working with the horses for me in Ottawa.
Yeah, in Ottawa, Rideau.
That's right. I was telling my wife, and your wife won't see this video, but the girl you dated, that was the paramedic.
Yeah.
What was that? I can't remember her name.
Anik,
yeah.
She was working at a track.
I remember because I got hurt in an accident one night. A horse kicked the living hell out of me going in behind the gate.
Alberta.
That's right. You get a good memory.
Yeah.
Oberta was the name of the mare, and she put a vicious beating on me going in behind the gate. Okay, here, you got to go back in Mummy's barn and ask her when White Tiger's ready. All right? Go ask her when White Tiger's ready. I'll be right there.
Yeah, she did story your front ear.
Yeah, I still got the bump on the bubble on my arm. She cut right through my arm with her back foot when she kicked. I was going in behind the gate, and she opened fire.
She was nice drive.
She was so mean.
Everybody liked to drive that. Hey, Anthony, would you
mean.
drive that? Yeah, I got nothing else to drive. No, that's it. I'll go.
Mean and kicked me. And the last time she kicked, it sounds stupid. You just say, "Oh, you just get off." It's happened so quick, you can't, right? And the last time she kicked me right off the side of my helmet and knocked me off the bike. And I remember a fan, if you've ever been to Rideau Carleton, a fantastic place to watch races. The tarmac just walks right up to the track, and the food was always good there too. They don't get enough praise for what they've done. They've raced through the utmost adversity in the last 10 years, 15 years.
Yeah.
Amazing how resilient the people of Ottawa have been. Anyway, I loved racing there. I lived there for a year, and this mare kicked the hell out of me. Cut my arm. I had to go get it. A plastic surgeon had to stitch it closed, and I remember Anik at the time. I remember I walked in the paddock, and I was bleeding a little bit from my arm, quite a bit from my arm. My shoulder, I had a cut, and she said, "You're gonna have to go to the bathroom." I said, "No, I'm fine." She goes, "No, you're gonna throw up." I said, "Oh, I feel fine." And about 10 seconds later, I was throwing up everywhere in the bathroom, just from shock. So, as I said, when we left Montreal, I left Montreal long before you did, but the collapse was just, it was like literally just watching an accident scene on TV. It was so devastating to the people of Quebec, and you know what they went through. What they went through was really tough and really unfair, and you know you see it. You know, quietly we see New York, them people in New York writing, putting on Facebook. You know, write your politicians every year. Maybe you don't follow this as close, but every single year, Pennsylvania, now New York, and not shockingly, it's places where you know their infrastructure is waning a little bit, especially after COVID. There's not a lot of money there, and then now their money that is allotted to purses is contractually they're bound to do that. But you know as well as I do, the politicians don't really adhere to contracts that well. They didn't here, and I suspect they won't anywhere else if they think they can get ahead of people. So, you know, the people in New York are scared right now a little bit. Hopefully they can thwart that very quickly. People in Pennsylvania, every single year it seems that Governor Wolf tries to scoop their money out, and it's very, very bad every time. And we went through it here in Ontario where they did. They took our money and we had to fight for it back. So that is us. That is us as an industry fighting off, you know, the wolves at the door, so to speak. But in Quebec they couldn't. They lost everything. The industry collapsed. People scattered everywhere, and I can only imagine how tough it was. What was it like at that time, not having any direction or not being able to go anywhere, do anything?
The only luck that we had was the Rita Carlton.
Yeah.
Was at the time was still running with the good money from the slots program that they had, and so we moved lots of our horse racing down there.
Were you stabled at Rita Carlton?
Never. I always ship. So it was a minimum of 3 hours to ship, but we always shipped to go over there.
Yeah. And how long was it before Three Rivers started back up?
They back it up, I think it's in 2000, I'm not sure. I would say 2008, 2009, something like that. Maybe later.
And how was the money in Three Rivers? I know you and I talked about it a couple of times, but it just didn't seem like there was a ton. It was okay, like it was happy. You were a guy, everybody was happy because you're racing in the state.
Yeah,
that's
it.
Ava, go play with your sister, honey, all right? Go.
I know where
No, the money is, it's not for making a real living, for having a hobby, or having a second job, things like that, perfect. It's better than a fair circuit, and you can do it like this. To make a living like we would like to do a living, and not coming and move my family to come to Ontario, this is just impossible. That's why people that really wants to do a living out there, a full-time job of it, needs to move somewhere where the money is a little bit more attractive for the owner
I understand.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, here there was so much racing, it didn't seem like we had to move anywhere. It seemed like you just had to, you know, before the slots collapsed, if you couldn't do it Mohawk, there was always a track you could race at. You know,
Rita
Woodstock.
Carlton was really fun. The money that they gave it, Rita Carlton makes survive lots of people for all those years.
Yeah. And I mean, when I was stable at Rito, I loved it there. I liked the town of Ottawa. We had a pretty strong stable for Ottawa, and I decided that, you know, at the time, the only place to really be if you wanted to be at the pinnacle of racing was certainly not Ottawa. It was Toronto. And when we had moved up here, I remember not that long after I had arrived here, regretting leaving. You know, at the time, you had to race against Casey Coleman, Kevin McMaster, Joe Stutzman, Bill Robinson, just to name a few. Anthony Montini. I could go on and on and on. And
when you want to go at the top place, you get competition. It's not
tough.
Easy to crack down.
It's tough, and you know that's how we ended up with so many trotters. I had said this in another video. Was, you know, I woke up one day and decided that I was a trot guy because those trainers didn't have trotters.
Yeah, but we have to rely on their ability to make it happen, to make it figure it out.
You have to be able to adapt in this game and change. And I think looking back, I've tried to carefully look at what I can do, but when it's time to go, it's time to go. And when it's time to make a change, it's time to make a change. And I'm going through that somewhat now, even with the stable as it's growing and branching out. Where am I needed? What am I going to do? And it's a little different now. Anthony McDonald making a change for Anthony McDonald is for Anthony McDonald. But when you're talking about all the people that are associated with the stable and my family, you have to be very careful how you proceed. And as I said before, this game's great, but it's unforgiving. And there's going to be no one.
No.
Our clients are great people, but there's not going to be anybody looking to give you a hand up when you fall down in this game, and that's the mean part of it. But that's the reality of life, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that lack of a safety net is what keeps a lot of horse people. Like, do you have your kids at the barn?
No.
And that's the same thing as me. I like my kids being here, but I preach about how we don't have young people in the industry anymore. There's Big the track right now. Oh, you guys can't see him back in. There he is. Yeah, focus sucks. Oh well. Yeah, and that's the thing, is that without that safety net, you feel that this game is not suitable for your children. And that's why I keep my kids. That's why everybody in this industry, and I think that's the generational thing, is that people stay away from getting their kids in the game because they're like, this is too hard. I wouldn't want my kids to be doing this. But the reality of the situation is, this industry is much like a lot of industries. It's tough everywhere, right? It's part of life. And horse racing, as I said, is tough, but at the same time, it can be great. And I think that's a good transition into what we've built at the stable, is the ability for people to do what they want, work as hard as they can and be rewarded. And you and I both know it's tough sometimes to race against some trainers, and you're always left wondering, how do the horses look so good? How do they race so good? And it's easy to cry cheater all the time, but at the end of the day, it is what it is, and they may not be. They may be, they may not be, I don't know, but you have to move past that. You have to look at that as being a constant, and how do you work around that? And for us, as I said to you, if our horses, the reason that we take the stance we take, we rely on horsemanship and hard work at the stable, and if we have horses that aren't good enough, we'll just get better ones. And that's what we've tried to do. And by allowing our clients, and you'll get to know a lot of them, are some of the best people around, and they've allowed us to improve our horses and improve to the point where we can go and buy a Kings County, we can go buy a Locatelli, we can buy good quality animals, and good quality horses will do good, but it's tough to get them. And that's why we focus a lot on babies also, is that
you got to create them. That's just right now, we got to create them.
Exactly. And that's the whole thing, is that the horses are worth so much right now. Yep. You can't buy a top flight horse. We were lucky to buy Locatelli. That was timing. He was being sold 2 weeks before Harrisburg, right? So people looked at him and said, well, I could buy him, or I could roll the dice, not pay $93,000 US for him, and then go to Harrisburg and buy a horse he was racing against. Well, as it turned out, when you got to Harrisburg, those horses all sold for $140,000, $150,000. So we did well with Locatelli. Kings County was a different story. The way I approach buying horses is quite simple. 1, where can they race? 2, how well can they do? And 3, are they quality animals? What are they actually worth to us? And I thought the unknown of Kings County racing only 8 times in 2 years.
That's a challenge. It's not the word to say it, not challenge, but it's a...
No, that's right, that word.
It's a
problem.
challenge, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. But, talking to past trainers, talking to the driver, and then looking at the horse with my own 2 eyes and feeling his legs with my own 2 hands.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah, that it made me believe that, 1, now there's value. I went from, geez, there's a lot of question marks, I don't want to buy this horse, to, wow, I think there could be value here. People are going to have the same questions I do. And that's the thing, is that a lot of people go to these sales with predetermined decisions, right? I'm not going to buy Kings County because he only raced 8 times in 2 years, and without understanding why, without understanding the horse, and then saying to yourself, is there value to be found in a horse that's only raced 8 times? Why did he only race 8 times? And is that a trend that's going to continue, or can we move forward? And they look at it on paper, maybe even make a few phone calls, say, I don't want that horse. Now, a perfect example of this would be Bolt Power. Now, you don't know that horse very well, Bolt Power. So, Brenda, who came to us a few months ago, nice lady. I like Brenda. She speaks her mind quite violently sometimes.
Yes, I met her yesterday.
Yeah.
I heard her yesterday.
She's a very nice lady, but speaks her mind quite a bit. There's nothing wrong with that. I actually like that. So, Brenda came here with some horses, and I'd sold a couple of them quite quickly. She actually claimed one of them back. Brenda, come on, really? She claimed one of them back. Well, good luck to her and the young lady who's training them. I can't remember her name, but I had said to Brenda, you need better horses. You know, for what you want to do in racing, what you want to accomplish, you need better horses. So we went to the sale, and it was funny because Brenda gave me a list of like 10 horses that her and Bill were very interested in. And I discounted a lot of them right now because you have to understand, even a game like Monopoly, there's a way to play it and there's a way not to play it, right? Okay. And it's the same with horse racing, is that you can easily start with $1 million in horse racing and be broke very quickly in horse racing. You know, the best saying ever, I say it all the time, is a guy said, it's not hard to become a millionaire in horse racing. Just start as a billionaire. Yeah. That's very simple. And you need a plan. And it's pretty simple. Parameters of buying horses, they need to have, 3-4 wins so that you have room to move in the wins column. Anything less than 40, 50,000, again, you have room to move in the money column. So it gives you an opportunity. It gives you outs. It's a good way to get killed. Somebody riding a horse here. You have to have outs. You have to have ways and paths forward. And the more paths you present yourself with any particular horse, the more likely you are to do good. Now, we talked earlier about Eldese Patrick and why we had luck with Eldese Patrick. We didn't buy Eldese Patrick to be Eldese Patrick for us. We bought him to be the horse he was. If we could keep him trotting, have him behave himself, he could do numbers of 2, numbers of 3, and then we would sell him, right? And that would be a wise investment. And I shudder in using the word investment because we shy away from it at the stable all the time. Most horses are a terrible investment to begin with.
Yeah. But at least you had, like, for this horse, that...
He was worth what we paid for him if he was no better than he was that day.
Yeah, and it will make attraction. It will make, you have something to race every week.
And that's the thing, is that we bought him to be one kind of horse, and he turned out, luckily, to be a much, much better horse. But when it comes to, getting back to Brenda, so we went to the sale, and we had a number of horses that we liked, and there was 2 horses that were selling very close together. One was from Illinois via Indiana. The other one was Bolt Power. Bolt Power, they both had 15, 16 starts, 30, 40, 50,000 made. Both had really good marks. The horse from Illinois and Indiana looked fresher, looked sharper, but on inspection, looked kind of run down a little bit, whereas Bolt Power looked really, really healthy and sharp. I thought they both were worth around 40 or 50. I think the Illinois horse went for like 90. Okay. And then this guy, I believe we paid 30-something for him. But looked good, looked really good. And I really hadn't sat behind him until the other day. Very, very nice horse. So we've looked at I think a lot of our success comes from 2 places at the stable. One, the way that we procure horses, the way that we either buy them, raise them, train them down, race them, or the way that we purchase them. We're not going to be right all the time. So far, we've dug ourselves a pretty good hole with another horse in Harry's barn named High Gear No Fear that we bought from a friend of mine, Steve. Nice horse. The speed is there. He just kind of looked beat up and dead. His liver count jumped, and we ended up resting him. We ended up paying quite a bit of money for him. So quite a hole to dig out of with him, but at the same time, the viability of that particular horse is still there. He didn't get stopped with because of a physical ailment or anything like that. He gets stopped with, well, he did, his liver was high, but no injury, I guess is the way I was looking at it. So he can always come back and make that money after. The way that we procure the horses, the way we buy them, the way we raise them, I think is what makes the stable, right? If you're in Ontario, if you're Dominic Gladu, once you get to a certain level of money made with that horse or wins, that horse is, you got to move them, right? Where us, we have trainers in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Dover, Plain Ridge. Now, we've built branches. We've built bridges to virtually every racetrack in North America. So if we need to move a horse, we can. And that's a huge feather in our cap right now at the stable. It opens up doorways. As I said, the more paths forward, the better it is for us. So when I talked to you 5 or 6 weeks ago, knowing everything that's gone on in the game, knowing how, how tough the game can be. Because once, how many horses you had? Like 5, right?
Yeah.
So if you had 5 horses at the time and you have a few weeks where they don't race very good, there isn't many worse feelings in the world.
No. The high are high and the low are low.
Right up there with your wife leaving you for the janitor would be right up there with getting beat up 3-4 weeks in a row with your 5-horse stable.
Yeah.
So it's tough. It really, this game can make you feel so smart and then so stupid all in 24 hours.
Oh, yeah.
And as I said, the thing that keeps us going is the highs, right? The lows.
The adrenaline that we have. And the other thing I like about that game, it's like a game of chess because, just put it for King County, we had an issue. Okay, we'll try to figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll try to find out. We'll race him again. Are we good or are not good?
Understanding, and that's that. You make a very, very good point. Is that what we've done in, and your reference to chess is right, because a lot of the times you out there would have saw Kings County race the other night. Like, fine, he's good now. We got him good. Now, if you're the trainer that just is high-fiving your caretakers and not really paying attention, you wouldn't know that when we scoped him, he still wasn't perfect, this horse. He still was not perfect. So although we made gains, he looked better, he looked stronger, he trotted good, he was more comfortable, he seemed powerful. Whereas the week before, I told you guys, same mile, 57, just seemed like there was no power. Like there was a 5th gear there, but I just couldn't get him into it. And we know what the problem is, and we're working on it. But understanding the issues allows you to get to where the horse could be, not where he is. And always wanting more, always looking for a better outcome is what keeps this stable fresh and hungry all the time. Whether it's Jason in Ohio, or whether it's Dominic or Mario or Harry here, or any of our other trainers, we're always looking to do better. And that is a key ingredient when you look at all our trainers, fierce competitors, but to the point where they understand that even though you won or you did well, could you have done better? And that last part, the could you have done better, I think that is what separates us from some people sometimes, right? We spent, $80 scoping Kings County after a easy, crushing victory to find out if he was right. And we now know that he wasn't 100%. So again, we can continue to work.
And it's always it's always what we do. It's either a colt or a racehorse that we do. It's always looking for, we might have a little bit more. We have a little bit more in this athletes and to bring him the other step.
But see, that's what horsemanship is, right? And that is why, we run a very clean stable here. We try to the very best we can. We always do. And, we came from a time where you didn't have to, right? It was always just do whatever you could to win a race. And we, from growing up, understanding that, you need to mature, you need to grow up, you need to understand that there's a way, a better way forward for us as an industry. There's Tiger again. She's okay. You okay? You okay? Okay, I didn't know if you come off early. Are you all right to get him in? Okay. Old Tiger.
Oliver's there.
Yeah. So, these are the things that happen all the time. And this goes back to why I went to New Jersey. It's not that I believe I can drive a horse better than any of the guys that would have been sitting in that driver's room watching LD's Patrick race. It's that I have a responsibility to our clients. I want LD's Patrick to get back on track and do it better. And
who feels something that is coming wrong or coming wrong.
And that's the thing is that, when you have the horses good, absolutely, get the best drivers to drive them. But to get them to that level is not easy all the time, right? And I think that's where I play a role. They did an interview with me last week on Daily Racing Forum, and Derek Gilner, who used to be a client of ours, was the one who wrote it. Now, Derek is the guy who's a return on investment gambler type guy. He was a client of ours for like a year, maybe 2, and then decided it wasn't for him, and he left the stable. But we've always stayed in close contact. Really smart guy, understands horse racing really well, and asked me a ton of questions. And one of them was, why do you fly to drive some of the horses in the States? Would it not make more sense to list he said, I don't mean to hurt your feelings or anything, but would it not make sense to list a professional driver, like a because if you say it that way, it kind of does hurt my feelings. But but a driver to drive the horses, and yes, and when it comes to our horses, though, a lot of our clients have seen, when we just throw somebody up to drive the horses. If you don't know a 2-year-old, if you don't know the horse, those inches here and there on the track that you give away, you don't get them back sometimes. And I think in that regard, I played a role. Now, will there be a time, whether it be this year or a year in the future, years in the future, that I don't play a role? Yeah, there probably will be. And I'm quite fine with that. Like, I didn't want to go to Flamborough to drive Better Be Sawyer last night, but I told Harry I'd go, and I went. I just finished telling you, list James on Kings County next week. I'm not going to drive him. I just won with the horse. But I'm not needed to be the driver, but I am needed to be the steward of the stable. And I think that's a big responsibility and a very big role. And it's one that is very important for us. And, when we're talking about getting the horses ready, I tell people all the time, James and I, you haven't seen James and I butt heads yet, but we will at some point. We have in the past.
I just could imagine. I didn't see it, but I could imagine.
Oh, yes. And for me, my approach to training babies is simple. I don't want to coddle any of them. I don't look at it as raising your kid. I look at it as this is an army base. They are here to go to war, because when we get to the races in June, July, August, September, October, and furthermore for the rest of their career, you are racing against other drivers that want to win and other horses that are trained to do the same thing. And if your horses aren't ready to go and aren't smarter, stronger, and faster than the other horses, then you won't win.
Yep.
And that's that stock NASCAR feeling. But all things being equal, if we have smarter horses that are more prepared to race, they don't necessarily have to be faster than the other horses. They're just in a better position to win because they're smarter and they utilize what we've trained them to do. And when it comes to me, I want them hard. I want them hard-end. And I just don't feel that. And you'll see, last year, the horse we had 3-Point Blue Chip, he was stubborn, but he was soft. You couldn't, like, I don't train Brace for Landing the same way I train the other horses, because he's not ready to be pushed the same way the other horses are. But you didn't see when Tactical Mounds got hurt and was off 3.5 weeks, right? In her stall. And then when she went out and trained, it looked like she never missed a day, because from day one, they're taught to be tough. And some horses really take to that. Some horses, and they become very tough horses, and that it's very pleasing to me to know that our horses are ready to go. The last, since we've started the stable, one thing anybody out there can't argue is the amount of horses we get to the track. We start with 60. I expect all 60 to race in the summer. And if they can't, fine. Some of them just get hurt or aren't good enough and we sell them, or get sick or need time to mature. But my expectation is all 60 will qualify. And, when you look at the past 5-6 years, we've been well over 93-94% of our yearlings purchased that have raced as 2-year-olds. Okay. And as a breeder, that's very important. breeders will tell you a lot, but the one thing they want to see is their horses
on the track.
Race.
And something.
You saw that this year. This year was the first year, maybe 3-Point Blue Chip played a role in it, I don't know, where we literally had breeding farms calling us to come look at their horses because they want them to get into the right hands, right? They want them to get into the hands of somebody that will get them to the track. And that's that was very pleasing, having breeders say to us, no, we'd like you to come look at our horses, we'd love you to buy our horses because you guys get your horses to the track. And have that out there is it's a huge feather in the cap of the stable.ca. And I know it's a little different. I'd said to everybody that there would be a little bit of a transition for you into training the babies, because when you train your own horses that you bred or you have your money into, you may train them a little bit different, right? You may give them more time. You may go easier on them because you don't want to see them ever fail, much like your kids.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And you want but the point is the same at the end. So you want to put them on the track.
Yeah.
So.
But I think you give a little bit more when you have. As I say that, I got to be careful because.
When the numbers are lower a little bit, you might have a different opinion too. So.
I might, but I think when we started the stable, we still trained them hard. I think at heart, I still want my horses to be battle ready when they go to the track. And a lot of people, but again, James is much softer on them also, and James has to understand. And Harry Polk and I had this conversation the other day. We bought a little horse. You haven't seen him yet. I told you about him, the horn player's brother that we purchased in Delaware. And I was really hard on him when we first got him, but I knew that he came from the Amish, and the Amish would have been road tested, that's for sure. So, Harry's the type of guy where he's going to take a long, drawn out time to get them to the track. I want to get them to a place where they're ready to go, and then we can polish them up after if we want to. And James is the opposite. He would like the other day, we trained, here's a Gladu M, has a mark of 53. She had won twice in 53. She'd been in 2.7, she'd been in 2.9, she'd been in 2.12, which is frustrating to me, but nevertheless, James called and said, yeah, just train her, just go a mile in 2.4, which I went a mile in 2.1, she came 27 in a piece, or 28, and she was very good, but the thought that I was going to go in 2.4 off the gate with a horse at a mark of 53 and had, when you have a month off, okay, perfect example. When you rest a horse that is racing for 30 days, how long do you expect it'll be from when you bring them back from the field after 30 days till they see the starting gate again?
Depending the age of the horse.
That's a good answer. So let's say a horse that is 3, that was turned out for no physical reason, just freshened up to come back.
I would say 5-6 weeks.
Yeah, so it's been about 9 for the Gladu mostly. And when you look at with Harry, he's the same way, right? But I don't judge James, you, Harry, anybody. It's not my job to judge. But when it came to this little horse, I said, Harry said, he's hanging his head in the corner and he's blowing after he trained. Yeah, well, that's what happens when you work hard. Let's see how he eats his lunch. My, and I don't know whether it was John or who it was had taught me this, but if you want to see how a horse come out of training, just walk by after lunch. See if they ate their lunch, see if they seem okay in the stall. And if they do, if they recover, if they're blowing, but they recover quickly after they train and they eat their lunch and they feel fine at night, then, you've pushed them to the limit, but you haven't gone beyond. Yeah. Then you have horses that hang their head in the stall and don't eat lunch. You've asked for a little bit too much on that particular day. And I think that simplistic view and that way that we approach training makes more sense to me. That's why yesterday we had a couple of sets that went in 2:38, but quite frankly, we had a couple of sets that went in 2:29 also. And the reason was we had pushed them to where I thought they needed to be pushed. And the reason James and I butt heads sometimes is James wants to go 250, 248, 244, 238, 236. He just wants, it's like on a calendar. He'd like to write it out on sale day when you buy the horse. This is what we're going to do. I don't believe it's very wise to train horses like that. And it's just the difference. And I suspect you're very much the same way, a more methodical trainer. Where, yeah. Well, yeah. And there will
I like
be
the scale.
Yeah, so there is a transition. There is a transition between how you would train them and we would train them. And when it comes to the racehorses, I try my best not to butt in and say anything unless I think it's constructive conversation and dialogue. But when it comes to the babies, if everybody watching this video, there's only one person to blame if things don't work out. And it's not Dominic, it's not Harry, it's not Jason, it's not James, it's not Mario. There's only one guy who's going to take the blame, and that's me. So when it comes to the training of the babies, I will live by the sword and die by the sword. The horses will be trained hard so that when they get to the track...
But it's a good thing because you never change your mind. So the worst thing about a trainer would be
you're 100% right.
So
and
don't change your mind. That's it. It's follow that plans, and that's it. Yeah. Follow that plans. You'll have... That's
much like a politician, right? There's nothing worse than a politician that flip-flops all the time. No. Or anybody. So you can't run a company and then, Coca-Cola can't sell Coca-Cola and then halfway through say, we're going to turn it into juice.
Yeah.
You can't do that. And that's a good point, too. And I think that's what we advertise at the stable. We train our horses hard. We get them to the track, and they show up. They might be as good at 4 as they were at 2, but they get to the track. And I think that's very, very important. And I think after last year, we proved another thing. You could say the first couple of years, White Tiger, Lawmaker, somebody was a fluke because we didn't win any major races. We were second in the finals in Pennsylvania. We had raced in all the big races. We had horses that made good money, but we never really made a splash on the world stage. And winning the matron with 3-point blue chip was a big deal. 1, because he was an expensive yearling, and 2, it showed that we could compete and we could do well on the world stage. So those are the types of horses we want to bring to
that we never
buy expensive horses.
No, I said that we never lose the thinking that we're able to do that.
And that's the thing, as a trainer, that's the thing. You hit it right on the head. That's the thing when you're training horses, is that they will beat you down to where you ask yourself some days, maybe I can't do this. Maybe I'm not a good trainer. Maybe I'm just Maybe I'm just not equipped to be a trainer. That's what this game will do. It'll do it as a driver all the time. Do it as, especially when you're not really a good driver. It's really, really hard to convince yourself you are if you have a bad night. So it's really hard to stay on top of things. And the one thing that I say this all the time, the one thing that every trainer, anybody that has ever had a stable, all they want is the ability to train horses and prove that they can do as good as anybody else. And that is something that every trainer searches for and seeks out all the time, is the ability to train. And it's taken us a number of years to build the clients that we have. You know, there's going to be upwards of 600 people watching this. And the people that watch these, the people that play a real proactive role in the stable, it took a long time for them to believe that we could do the job we said we could do. And you can see that in the amount of horses we bought, in the kinds of horses we bought. Hi, buddy. In the kinds of horses we bought over the last 2 years. It's really shown that our clients trust what we're doing, right? Yeah. We built a stable that is supposed to be based on discretionary funds, which I don't know what that is in French, but the opposite of investment dollars.
No, that's it. So you're playing money.
And that's it. You're the money that you have earmarked to have fun with.
Yeah.
No other stable in North America has done that. I don't care what they say, what they do. Every horseman is going to revert back to return on investment. Yep. If you give me $10,000, I think if we do this, we do that. It's always possible.
I'll give you a thrill.
What? Yeah, I'll give you a thrill. We will show you the best time you'll ever have in horse racing.
It could be that. It could be good. And it could be not reached by anything else.
And that's the thing, is
it's
not
like
a lot of trainers will start with that, and not a lot of trainers will stick to that. But that is our model. That is what we do, and I so appreciate the thought that we have people out there that want to have fun in horse racing with us and want to have a good experience at thestable.ca. And the fact that we can show them that, the fact that we've done well, it only shows the growth of the stable, mm-hmm. and it shows the growth of the people that are in it to understand what horse racing is all about. So I always applaud our clients. We do have the best clients in the world for this very reason. Anything else? So how have you liked your time so far in the stable?
Oh, real good. It's
Well, let me ask you this. What do you find as a trainer interesting about working with us at the stable that maybe wasn't what you were looking for before? Like, what do you get out of working here?
The most of it, I would say, to get back the relationship that you and I.
That's a lie.
To have fight, to have challenge, to challenge our idea.
But do you what were the negative aspects about training your 5 horses at where were you staying? Ideal Training Center again? What was the low points of doing that? What did you not like about just training your 5 that maybe you like more about training the horses in Chedro 10?
I would say that it's right away. I went from, instead of building in 2 years, 3 years, or a little bit long term. My kids are young. I want to see them, mm-hmm. and there was just a perfect match, because it was I can more be available for them even in far away. Mm-hmm. If I decide to go, I go. I just tell you, hey, replace me. That will never happen. Yeah. But I have to go, and I have to take a few days. So this is make it less.
You can't take those days, because you can't tell a horse that. You're back on Tuesday.
No.
It doesn't work that way.
So this is one of the good thing, and I like to be back in how you say that, an environment. Environment of lots of people. Lots of people, because it challenged you. When you're down and you're alone, sometimes you don't challenge yourself anymore. Mm-hmm. You get into a routine, but here every day you challenge me. Somebody will challenge me. Will ask, so I'll see that I can keep on going and be better and better and better. Mm-hmm. I would say that this is the thing that I was missing. Now,
as a trainer, are you when you get a horse like Kings County, is that the same as having a horse in the maiden? Does it matter to you if you train 10 horses are okay, or are you looking for a horse that could be a good horse too?
You're always looking for having a good horse, but at the point, whatever I got in my hands will be held in my head. They will have my attention to be the best as they can. I don't know what it's gonna be, but I will take all my energy to build it. Knowing him, it's because it's
And
easier.
You guys thought that I was the politician.
No, but it's easier with King County because you got your line. So he's got his pass line. So you know that he trot 51. So with something that we would like to see him going back. Yeah. And when you do babies, it's completely the opposite. We don't know. So we just try to make it happen to whatever we think can be that horse, whatever he shows us on the training and the feeling of that day. If he's got a capacity to do an acceleration at one point and you say, okay, this is something that I can build on it, and if we can keep him going it, we'll have something in our hands. And yeah, this is how it works. But whatever I got in my hands, it's always think to try to make the best athlete possible of each horse.
And that's exactly the way that I describe it all the time, is that, all the horses we buy, we don't buy them thinking they're going to be great horses, but they are going to be the very best that they can be when they leave this barn. And I think that
we take a chance. We take a chance to have that great horse.
And that's the whole thing, is that, I have never once subscribed to the idea that you have to pay a lot of money to get a good horse, but it is nice to have nice horses to train down and expect that they're going to be nice. At some point, we're going to be wrong. Listen, we bought one 6-figure horse in my life, and that was 3 Point Blue Chip. And now, here's a horse that's worth a lot of money that looks like a really, really nice horse. Does that mean that Una Madonna, who we paid $100 for, or Brace for Landing, are going to be great horses too? No. At some point, we're going to experience defeat in one of these purchases. But the fact that I can tell our clients that, I can tell you that going into the sales, and you can extrapolate all the data you want. You can look at it however you want and say, okay, I still want to be a part of that. That is an exceptional feeling, knowing that our clients, one, put the trust in us that we're going to get the best out of every horse, and two, most importantly, they understand the risks versus rewards going into purchasing a horse of that nature, because realistically, everybody believes when they buy a 6-figure horse that they're going to buy a world champion, and the reality is the vast majority of them are not.
We're doing that on horses. You kind of draft the first pick in the NFL, and it's a human being that you talk to him, and you know him, and you can know him, and you'll know him, and you'll never get, and you're gonna have a Brady and
just look down in Shed Row 12. Captain Mike Dio was $200,000 as a yearling, and he might be a condition claimer. He might be a maiden horse. He might be a non-horse 2 horse. There is something there. We talked about trying to extrapolate talent. There is talent there, but he is as far from a $200,000 horse as I am from an astronaut. He's quite a ways away from a $200,000 horse. So, but having our clients fully aware of what is going on all the time, these videos, now this is a long video, it's 52 minutes, but understanding who you are, where you came from, the relationship we have, and again, allowing them to understand whether you'll be a viable part of the stable is important also. This video is long overdue, but not only is Dominic a very good friend, one of my best friends, he's in at least one of my weddings, I believe, if not
both. Your best man.
Yeah,
with all your brothers.
You really screwed that first wedding up for me. You really did. But
and for to tell about the relationship, my dad followed James, Mark, and yourself more than he followed my horses. You would tell me everywhere where you drove, where Mark's drove, where James drove. If he wins, finish 5th, whatever he did. So that's
good. Family is good family, whether it's in horse racing and or humans. And your father unfortunately passed away, just a salt of the earth, a great man, and Marcel's. I always liked Marcel. So great to have you on board. I wanted everybody to get an opportunity. I know I do a lot of the talking a lot of the time, and that's me. But I wanted everybody to understand who you were, how you'll fit into the stable, what role you've played so far, what role you'll play moving forward. The stable has meant a lot to a lot of people, owners, but it's meant a lot to a lot of trainers too. When you look at Harry, Harry was retired when he came back in and was training for us. This is a guy that trained 2 horses that you and I may never have, right? He trained on the road and Matt Scooter.
And these are the horses that put us in that business.
That's right.
Always dreamed to have a Matt Scooter.
Exactly. Everybody wanted to have the horses that Harry Poulton had, but Harry Poulton's tale is one of caution, right? This is a guy that won everything, then was virtually left the business because he was frustrated with lack of output from his own barn. Just bad luck. And Jason's another kid like you, that very meticulous, he's younger than us, similar but younger than us, but very meticulous. When you walk into Jason's barn, all the harnesses are hanging up, all the boards are all marked perfectly, much like yours is. But that's something I never did. I always wanted to focus on the horses, and next day, and sometimes the here and now gets away from me. But one of my bad points was that I wasn't meticulous like that. That's why I like the fact that you have your barn like that. Jason has his like that. Harry has his like that. Mario has his like that. I like the fact that everybody has the structure that I lacked, because my greatest attribute is what I'm doing right now, talking.
Yeah, a good relationship.
Yeah, communicating with people, making people understand exactly what we're trying to do. But the follow through, the hammer of all that has to be the guys in the back end, which are you guys. So you'll be a great fit for this barn. I want to make sure that you knew that going in. I want to make sure that everybody else knew that, what role you play right now, what role you'll play in the future, which is a fairly significant one. So this is Dominic Gladu, very good friend of mine. He is the trainer of Shedrow 10. This is the barn where him and Amy have a lot of the horses. Kings County is under his training right now. Aglar AM is also under his training right now, and a host of others. But for now, those will be the two brightest stars in the barn just yet. Isa 10 maybe going to Ohio. Obviously, she's an Ohio bred.
Oh, shit.
Unbeatable
They have
Kemp.
to go where they have to go.
That's
Doesn't
right.
matter.
And that's the thing, is that we want to put Ontario horses in here, but at the same time, you'll play a role where also this will be a hub for a lot of horses leaving Ontario to go to New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Ohio.
That's all right.
Yeah.
That's okay. I understand
Anyway.
that quite good.
Yeah.
Don't
This
have to
is...
explain that to me.
I know.
They'll be ready to go.
I know. So this is Dominic Gladu, as I said, good friend of mine, and the newest trainer at thestable.ca. 56 minutes of me rambling, you talking a bit, and me staring at your furry face wondering when you're going to shave.
Yeah.
Okay. Take care.
Yeah, thanks.